I'm going to destroy Magnus Carlsen's body in 3 different levels. In the first game, I will be up a queen. I will probably win that game. So in the second game, I will be up a rook and a minor piece. I don't know why I did that. And then on the third and last game, it will be a standard game, which means all the pieces will be on the board. And we'll see how long I can last. And hopefully it's longer than me in bed. Sleeping, you dirty-minded people. Alright, so in this first game, as you can tell, I am up a full queen. The queen on d8 from Magnus' side is gone. I'm up 9 points of material. So the game hasn't even started and I'm winning already. Let's go pawn to d4. He goes knight f6. Let's go c4. Wow, he wants to go for the Nimzo Indian? Okay, let's go knight to c3. Oh, okay, pawn to d5. Let's develop this knight and then we will try to exchange absolutely everything and head for the endgame because I'm up so much material that that's just gonna be an easy win. Let's develop. He's like pre-moving everything. This is crazy. Bishop d3. All right, I think we can take that and then pawn to e4 maybe. Yeah, let's go pawn to e4. He takes on c4. That's fine. What if I go pawn to e5 here? He takes on d3. I take on f6. Then he takes back and I take with the queen. Let's go pawn to e5. Oh, that's also an option. Yeah, it's probably smart. Let's take back with the pawn. Oh, this is bad already, is it? Well, I lost a pawn, but it's still okay, I think. Let's just castle and bring the rooks into the attack. Dude, I'm willing to sack the queen for some compensation because I'm up so much that it doesn't even matter. But, oh, let's go knight to b5 and then knight somewhere. Try to trap something. Should I take on d7? I mean, this is too easy in theory, so we might want to make it a little bit harder, but I'm gonna take on d7, why not? Let's just take that. That makes sense. Okay, let's go here, attacking this pawn. It goes that way. Let's go rook here, attacking the pawn again. All right, he wants to exchange the rooks. I'm not down just yet. Let's go pawn to a4. Is that smart? Let's go pawn to a4. He takes. I'm expecting f6 at some point to ruin this structure around here. f6, there we go. We got f6. So now, what to do here? Let's go knight to d2. You will take on e5, but then knight to c4, and you cannot defend both these pawns at the same time. Let's go here, knight to c4. We can just take that. I cannot take back with the knight because my rook is pinned, and that would also be checkmate, backhand checkmate. So we do not want that to happen. You gotta be careful where you put the king. Otherwise, I have discovered check, and you're gone. Let's bring the king to f1 so I can never fall for a backhand checkmate. He goes pawn to c4, and now let's go king to e2, defending the rook on d1. And now if I take on b5, he has rook to a5, I think, and I'm losing one of the knights. So we don't like that. Let's go instead. What to do? Let's just take this pawn. I don't even care. Let's go here, and then let's go rook to b1 and push this pawn as far as possible. Knight to a3, I think, should be good. That's a check, doesn't matter. Let's move the king. Let's go pawn to g3, why not? That's another check. Let's go king to c4, and then let's push this pawn. I think that should be good. And if you keep taking pawns, you won't be able to stop. Yeah, there we go, rook to f8. Now, let's bring the king closer. Or can I put the knight? Yeah, I could go like knight to c2, knight d4, and knight c6. Let's do that. Let's go here, knight c6 next. All right, maybe I can take the pawn first, attacking the one on g7. Let's do that. Yeah, he goes there. And I can go, yeah, let's go knight d4 first, king to h3, and now rook here, defending the pawn. And now we just make a queen, but then he can take the pawn on h2, which is not really a big problem, but, oh, maybe I could go knight to c6 first, and then b8 queen, and I can take back with the knight. So this rook keeps defending the pawn. Let's go knight here. I don't see why not. Yeah, let's just make a queen. Now I can take back with the rook, because the king is not attacking the pawn on h2 anymore. So let's take back with the rook. Let's go back with the rook again. And now let's just bring the king closer, I guess. And be careful not to fall for stalemate. That's good. All right, let's go here. Knight check. Where's the checkmate? Let's bring the rook closer. Pawn to g4. Let's go here. Oh, this is, okay, this is beautiful. King to h4. Oh, there it is. Knight to e5 and then rook to h3. There we go. Easy win, boys. So as you can tell, Magnus, when he's down a queen, it is not super difficult to beat. You can even sack the queen to get some compensation and reach the endgame faster. So now to make things a little bit more fair, let's play with Magnus, and he will be down a rook and then a minor piece from this side of the board for no reason. Okay, so let's go pawn to d4 now and see what he does. Pawn to e6, okay. Let's go c4. And I think the strategy didn't change too much. I want to trade pieces very quickly. I want to reach the end game. Let's go pawn to e3. Knight to, I mean, everything very natural. Pretty much. Pawn to d5. Let's go bishop e2 and castle on the next move. He's attacking the pawn on c4 twice. I mean, that doesn't scare me too much. I can just get rid of this weakness very easily. Let's castle now and see what he will play. Let's go pawn to a3. He takes. Let's take back with the pawn. And then I want to prepare pawn to c4. So let's go queen to c2 first. Well, if pawn to c4, this knight will be just defended by the pawn. I will have double pawns, but again, that's not the end of the world. I'm still up way too much material. Let's take here. And then I have double pawns. He gives me a check. That's not super scary. Queen to f6. Now he's attacking the pawn on f3. Do I care about that pawn? Well, I do care about it because it comes with a check. But how much do I care about that pawn? Let's go queen to e. That's a little bit too passive. That is a little bit too passive. Let's go queen to d5. And then c6 attacking the queen. As you can tell, I cannot go to e4, but I saw this. I can go to h5 instead. Pawn to g6, I can just go to g4 now. And then, well, he goes back. He didn't like that idea anymore. Let's develop the bishop. Where should I put the bishop, actually? Let's go bishop d2 first. Queen there. Well, he keeps eyeing the pawn now, but it is protected by the queen, so that's not scary at all. Let's go pawn to a4 first and try to gain some space around here. Okay, so now the pawn on c6 is a little bit weaker, so let's go rook to c1, putting pressure on that pawn. Wow, he's very aggressive for someone who's down so much material. Okay, so I'm looking for some sacrifices now, but nothing works just yet. Let's go queen to f4, still protecting the pawn on f3. I think we can probably double up the rooks on the c file, putting even more pressure on the pawn on c6. Do I have something better? I have pawn to a5, and if you go b5, now I have rook to c5 attacking the queen, and I can more easily double up the rooks on the c file. Let's go pawn to a5 first. Queen to d7, wow. All right, let's take this guy, and then let's get the queen a little bit closer. Rook to f8, okay. You know what I'm looking at? I'm looking at rook takes c6, queen takes, and pawn to d5. And this pawn, this is a passed pawn, and it will just be a nightmare, dude. Because it's coming with queen to e6 check. I still have a bishop b4 attacking the rook. I'm gonna do it. I mean, I'm up way too much material, so there's no way this doesn't work. Let's go pawn to d5. Should I take the queen? I mean, this pawn is just way too annoying. Maybe I don't even want to take the queen. Maybe I want to go bishop c3. Let's go bishop c3 actually. If you take, I'll take. And then you attack the pawn, but I can do two things now. I can push the pawn, which will be defended by the bishop, or I can go rook to d1. Both seem pretty reasonable. I think we'll push the pawn first. Let's go pawn here. Let's give a check. Let's not take the pawn on h7 because he's attacking my bishop. Where do we go? Oh, I have rook to e7 as well. Rook to e7 with a check and defending the bishop as well. Let's go rook to e7 first. Then let's bring the bishop back here. Oh, you have pawn to g5. That's kind of annoying. Let's go bishop g3. Bishop g3. He pushes. Let's go pawn to d7. And then, okay, you will take the pawn on d7. That's fine. Okay, now we'll take this guy. And then we can simply freaking simplify the position. Bishop e5. And now the bishop is always protecting any promotion ideas. King to g2. Let's get the king closer. King closer again. And then let's just create another passed pawn. Bro, for some reason, sometimes it's harder to checkmate with some pieces on the board than with just a king and a queen. Let's cut the king off first. Then get the bishop closer, and then queen to d2, and that is checkmate. All right, so in this last game, we're gonna play Magnus with every single piece on the board. As you can tell, he's not missing the queen, he's not missing any of the rooks, and all the pawns are there. And we're just gonna try to survive as long as possible. So again, try to guess my opening. That's right, pawn to d4. Don't judge me, that is the only thing I know how to do. He goes knight to f6, and now let's go pawn to c4. Maybe a queen's gambit. Nope, he goes with the king's Indian defense. Okay, let's go knight to c3 here. I'm expecting bishop g7. Oh no, he goes pawn to d5 instead. Let's go knight to f3 and develop my pieces, all very natural. Pawn to e3, bishop e2, and castle. Okay, he goes bishop g7 now. Oh, this is like a Grunfeld, right? Yeah, that's a Grunfeld. Let's go pawn to e3. I know I'm trapping my bishop, but this is an opening idea. This is fine. I'll go pawn to b3 and bishop b2 at some point later on the game. Now let's go bishop e2 and castle on the next move. He goes pawn to c6. Okay, let's just castle. I think that's fine. Bishop to f5. Wow. Okay, what should I do here? I'm just gonna go with my plan. Let's go pawn to b3 and bishop b2. He goes queen to d6. Okay, what does that do? All right, so that is not attacking anything. That's just developing the queen to connect the rooks later. So let's go bishop b2 for now. I'm expecting knight to d7, that's right, that's what he does. So he will probably go knight to e4 later and then this knight to f6. I'm expecting that at least. So let's go queen to d2. So now I connected the rooks and my opening stage is officially over. There we go, he went knight to e4 and now he's attacking my queen. So I have to respond to that. If I move my queen either to c2 or d3, he will have some knight to g3 stuff, and that is a discovered check on the queen. And he is also attacking the rook on f1. So let's not move the queen to any of those squares. I think just taking the knight is fine. I'm afraid he will take back with the pawn and I have to move this knight backwards. That's kind of ugly. I could also go knight to h4 attacking this bishop, which is a little bit more interesting than pawn here preparing knight to g2. All right, so first things first, I have to take the knight on e4. Let's see what he will take with. He takes with the pawn. Okay, so I have two options here. I could go knight to h4 attacking the bishop or knight to e1, which is more passive. But then I can go knight to c2. I don't know doing what, but I'm very much considering the active option of going knight to h4 attacking this bishop, followed by pawn to g3 and knight to g2 to then go knight to f4. So let's do that. Let's go knight to h4 attacking the bishop, bishop e6. Okay, that makes sense. I was expecting that. Now let's go pawn to g3. Otherwise, this knight will be trapped, in case you were wondering why this move is good. This gives the knight a little bit of room to escape. Bishop there, okay. So he's attacking my rook. I could go knight to g2 right away, and I don't see why not. Oh, I can move the rook. That's also fine, but I don't see why to delay this move for now. Let's go knight here. And then maybe he could go pawn to g5, restricting the movement of this knight. He doesn't do that, okay. He brings the rook to d8, so I think it is a good time to bring my rooks into the semi-open file. Wow, he sacrifices a knight. Okay, so if I take the knight, he will take my queen. And then if I take back, he takes back with the rook. So if I move my queen, he will obviously move the knight somewhere because he will be actually attacked. I think I could go queen to c2 and I would be attacking the knight and the pawn on e4 at the same time. I would be expecting knight to f3 check and then bishop takes, pawn takes, and knight to f4 attacking the bishop. And I don't really hate that position, to be fair. Let's go queen to c2, there we go, and see where he will go with the knight. Knight to f3, there we go, knight to f3. I take with the bishop, he takes back with the pawn, and then my knight is under attack, so let's go knight to f4 attacking the bishop. Yeah, let's do that. I don't see anything else. Knight to f4. He goes queen to d7, that makes sense. So if I take the bishop on h3, he will take back with the queen, and it will be impossible for me to stop the checkmate on g2. If queen to e4, maybe he has bishop to g4 defending the pawn. I could also go queen to d3, and that is actually threatening to take the bishop, because after he takes back with the queen, there's queen to f1 defending this checkmate. Many options here. Even pawn to e4 looks fun here. I think I want to go queen to d3. I want to get ready to take that bishop and then push the pawns in the middle. Yeah, I like that. Let's go queen to d3. Ah, he moves the bishop, okay. Oh wait, he's actually now threatening to go pawn to g5 and my knight is trapped because I went queen to d3, so now this square is not available for the knight. And then this pawn is taking away these two squares. Wow, that is brilliant. So I have to move the queen again to give the knight some space. If I go back with the queen to c2, there's pawn to g5, knight to d3, and then I'm afraid you might move the bishop somewhere to open up this diagonal for the queen. So let's go queen to f1 instead and then move this knight. Bishop to f5. I'm not really sure what that does. Man, I really want to take the pawn on f3, but this bishop is just making it impossible. Let's go rook to c1. I mean, that's never, you know, an unnecessary move. Let's go rook c1. Pawn to b6. Now this queen can't really move anywhere, so let's go queen to e1, giving the queen some options. Pawn to g5. Okay, he's attacking the knight, and the only square reasonable is knight to d3. If I go knight to h5 attacking the bishop, he just moves the bishop back and then my knight is looking like an idiot on h5. So let's of course go knight to d3 and maybe follow it up with knight to e5, I don't know. Bishop to e4, okay, he's over defending the pawn. And maybe preparing to go queen to h3. That's never too scary because my queen is on e1, so I can always go back to f1. This is too hard, Mr. Magnus. I like it better when you're down a queen. Alright, so now I'm considering knight to e5, of course, giving a tempo to the queen. Maybe you want to take that with the bishop, I take back and open up the d file for my rook. So the question is, what's better, the knight on d3 or the bishop on g7? I think they equally suck. Let's go knight to e5, who cares? Queen to f5. Oh shit, now he's threatening to go pawn to f6 and then my knight would be trapped because the only square is knight to d3 and now that is attacked by two pieces and only defended by one. Wow, this guy is brilliant. If I go back to f1, now the d3 square would be defended by two pieces. But then what am I really doing with my queen just dancing around f1 and e1? Another option would be to go rook to c3, but then that rook is blocking this bishop and it doesn't really feel good. So let's go back with the queen to f1. He takes with the bishop, okay. Now let's of course take back with the pawn. Bishop d3. Oh, shit. Wow. Did you guys see that? The queen-bishop coordination that just happened is insane. In case you haven't seen it, if I move my queen, you go queen to h3 and I cannot stop checkmate. So I have to take the bishop and I'm down the exchange now. I mean, let's take the bishop. I have to survive somehow. Rook takes d3, of course. Jesus, what just happened? I thought we were equal, but he went like, nope. No, we are not. This pawn was just a nightmare, man. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. If I go rook to d1, there's rook to d8, and then I can't do nothing. I was thinking bishop d4, but then c5, and I have to go back. Wow, and I can never move the queen. He was all quiet, and then all of a sudden, you realize you were losing. Okay, Mr. Magnus, I resigned the game. Let's check the game review. I'm actually curious. So I played with an 84 accuracy, and he went 93.8. That's crazy. No brilliance. He has 2 great moves. I got 7 best moves and he has 9. Wow, he's winning everything. Mistakes, I got 4 mistakes and he has 0, I won. So I played with a 2600 rating and he went 2850. That's pretty accurate. Not for me, this cannot be any further from reality. All right, here we go. Apparently pawn to g3 was an inaccuracy and the best move was pawn to f4. That kind of makes sense. Okay, so I was afraid of pawn to g5. Of course, that was trapping my knight, but I can go pawn to, okay, let's go back. I can go pawn to f4. And if you take en passant, I can simply take back with the knight, and that's apparently okay. In this position, it was better to go knight to e1 instead of knight to f4. Now I'm pressuring this pawn on f3. Okay, that makes sense. Then maybe I could go queen to e4, putting even more pressure on that pawn. But you know what? It was overall not a terrible game. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but it was not horrible, I would say. But that's fine. I mean, what was I expecting? To beat Magnus on the first try? And if you liked the video, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications, and I will see you tomorrow on the next game.